languished in prison for a crime that occurred that he was apparently a part of. And I was not living in Baltimore City at the time, but that is my nephew. Many of you that know me from Cherry Hill know that that is one of my nephews. I have many nephews and family that oftentimes I don't talk about, but I think I'll eventually do a show with her and have my sister either join me on the phone or join me in studio, I think, to talk about her sons, Wesley and Tony. Tony, of course, passed in prison, but we'll talk about that because there will be those that I think will try to offer up the Westmore Boulay member, the Westmore Rhodes Scholar, the Westmore Citibank member as a candidate for the 2020 mayoral election in Baltimore City. I think we had to pull some covers off of him, as I said to my sister years ago when she appeared on the Oprah Winfrey show and Westmore was there. And I told her, had I known, of course, I would have joined her and I would have had some questions for Oprah Winfrey and damn sure would have had some questions for Westmore to try to use my nephew's tragedy for his triumph and for others that would try to promote that. So you tune to the State of the City. Of course, today is June the 5th, 2017. So I want to thank all of you that's tuning in. Of course, we're live on Radio on Fire on Facebook. Of course, if you want to join me, you can go to my Facebook page. Send me a Facebook request at Darren, D-A-R-E-N, State of the City, and last name Muhammad, M-U-H-A, M-M-A-D. Spell it right, get it right, and you'll have us locked definitely in your sight. So got a lot I want to uncover and get into between now and 9 o'clock. May have to go over a few because we weren't able to get in, but we'll see based on the engineer and based on the host. So I can't start without thanking, of course, my brother who have opened up these airwaves to me, Brother Diamond Williams and his fine staff, Sister Nikki, and all others that have opened up Radio on Fire to yours truly, Brother Muhammad, in the State of the City. So the phone numbers when we do open up the line is 404-436-1277. That's 404-436-1277. Of course, you can send your comments to Radio on Fire because we got a lot that we're going to talk about. But I thought I'd start off at the top of the show. I want to thank and salute and dedicate the show also to all of the graduates of 2017 that we got to stop in this city and in your city and in the states and around this country at a time when you have those trying to inundate our people with a bunch of negativity and negativity, that we have to be the ones to say we're going to celebrate our victories. We're going to elevate our young people who are doing the right thing, our young people who have graduated from pre-K, some that went all the way up to college and beyond that. So tonight we're going to talk about that. And when we open up the lines, if you have a young man, a young woman that have graduated, particularly from high school or college, we want to lift them up and imagine the image that in this city in Baltimore, when many have been talking about young people coming down to the inner harbor, which they still haven't explained that scenario, that the more I look at it, I think it was staged and begin to ask as a good criminologist, Key Bono, who benefits. But it was all of the aerial shots that they showed, very few close-up shots that they showed. And when young people are going to fight, there's going to be some blood. You understand? I didn't see nobody bleed. Nobody went to the hospital. So the more I look at that video footage, the more I begin to think that this is some staged psyops, staged false flags, and staged drills that no one has been able to pinpoint where did all these young people come from 2 Saturdays ago in downtown Inner Harbor. Did they come in on a bus? Did they come in on a light rail? What mode of transportation did they take to get there? And who else was involved in this? Those are questions you got to ask. And when you begin to look at the videotapes of what they were only showing the young men in the stop shooting, start, whatever that is, T-shirts. They made sure they showed that. And now after that, we begin to hear about the Inner Harbor and why we got to save the Inner Harbor. And that's the Inner Harbor West that they're talking about, not Inner Harbor East. And although the Inner Harbor is one of the crown jewels to Baltimore City, Baltimore's had a lot of crown jewels that have been stolen, some that have been given away by political leadership that didn't understand the jewel. And this is why you can't give a jewel to a fool, such as Congressman Elijah Cummings, who has given away most of the 7th Congressional District where the Inner Harbor sits. And so he's giving it away to other members of the Congress, members of Congress, white, Jewish, Greek, Irish, Catholic, and others. And so you have less power now from your congressman than we had under Congressman Perrin Mitchell, and under the brother of Perrin Mitchell, the late what's his first name? His first name escapes me, but you know what I'm talking about. He was the first Mitchell to get in office, so he was called the lion in the lobby in terms of again that Mitchell, who had power, of course, and then Perrin Mitchell as well as the congressman. But you tune to the State of the City. Want to salute at the top of the show the graduates, and so I want to stop and thank young brother Gerard Mungo Jr., who joined me on the State of the City radio show this past Saturday. Again, a young brother who at the age of 7 years old was stopped, accosted, arrested by Baltimore City thug elements in the Baltimore City Police Department who was after his little miniature dirt bike. It was what they call a pocket dirt bike. It was 10 cc's, and those were not illegal in Baltimore City. His father brought it, gave the receipt to his mother. He wanted to go riding on it. Police came by, rogue police officer by the name of William Coburn. Saw the bike, saw the child, didn't see the mother standing in the door, thought this would be an opportunity for him to take the bike. And when he took the bike not to the city impound lot. And this is what I got from fellow police officers who did not like what he did. He took the bike on Madison Street. There's Madison Avenue in West Baltimore, but there's a Madison Street in East Baltimore. He took the bike off of Madison. There's some side streets, Kenwood, some of the other woods. He took the bike Lakewood. There's some garages, there's an alley with some gray garages where you could store items in the garage. He took the dirt bike to the garage and held it there. It was only once the mother called for a supervisor that they came back and said, we're going to take your son into custody. 7 years old. Now imagine the trauma to take a 7-year-old boy who's never been arrested, and you're going to take him and arrest him, and then you take him to the Eastern District Police Station, then you chain him to a table, and then he urinated on himself, and they laughed at this little baby, which is natural that any child would do that because the trauma, the chemicals that you send through the body and through the mind and through the brain when a child is ripped away from their mother, ripped away from their family by strangers. And so it was Brother Muhammad who led the protest. And I got the story from, at that time, because I don't spend a lot of time talking about myself. That's the other thing. You get a lot of these fake activists in the city, and they don't have any skin in the game. They not true to this. They new to this. And they'll be running around talking about what they've done. The D. Ray McKessons that was running around here with Black Lives Matters with that broke wrist. You know, the broke back one that you saw with that blue vest on all the damn time. Or Kwame Rose. I mean, I've caught a lot of them running around talking about they were activists, and nothing could be further from the truth. But Brother Muhammad, Eric Easton, Brother David Johnson, Brother David Anthony Wiggins, Brother Donald Smith, and others have been long-time activists in this city. And so I got the story from Stephen Janis when I saw it at that time. Steve Janis, a white man who was working for the Baltimore Examiner, which was a free newspaper at that time. And so I called Steve Janis because I was on the airways of Radio 1 hosting my show on Fridays from 12 to 2. And so I asked Steve Janis to link me up with the mother. I spoke to his mother, Lakeisha Dinkins, and said that I want to be there to support you, support your son, and if there's anything we can do, then let us know. Then I reached out to attorney A. Dwight Pettit, who was the lawyer for Gerard Mungo and the Mungo family. And at that time, Sheila Dixon was the mayor. And Sheila Dixon did not pick up the phone. Here's Sheila Dixon, a black mother. She has a son. I think her son name was Joshua. But Sheila Dixon never reached out to the mother till we embarrassed Sheila Dixon and confronted Sheila Dixon and confronted, at that time, Leonard Ham was the police commissioner. And at that time, Anthony McCarthy was Sheila Dixon's press secretary or mess secretary, because McCarthy just kept getting in trouble because he couldn't keep his mouth off of young boys or his hands off of young boys. He was always getting in trouble because he wanted to be a minister by day and a sinister by night. You know what I mean? Or claiming that's what he was. So the little brother gets arrested. They took him down to juvenile baby booking. At that time, I think Lou Hobson was working there. Lou Hobson looked out for him. And so the whole city wrapped their arms around this family. And we did in the tradition of the African proverb that it takes a village to raise a child. And so he was on my show. His mother was on my show. His family was on my show. And I thought and felt that little brother's pain because I remember my own journey as a 7-year-old when my mother had died. I don't spend a lot of time talking about my life. And at that time, I had got hit by a car and was wearing a cast. And it wasn't these casts they have today. It was them old casts. It was like walking around with some iron on your leg then. And the doctors didn't know if I would ever walk again. And so here I was going to my mother's funeral down in Chase City, Virginia. We had to get in a car. And at that time, you couldn't really get in a car with a cast. Imagine that. But I was a rough and rugged little boy. That cast was so heavy, I would still go out and bike ride with a cast on and would use the cast as a brake to break the bike when I was riding down the street. And so I had to go back in and have the cast put back on because I was ripping the cast up as I'm bike riding with a cast on my leg. And so, but I was a rough and tough I got hit I was 5 years old when many of you have never seen, well, if you see the mark on my forehead, I've had this since I was 5 years old when I got hit by a car. Then I got hit again at 7 years old. I was just a rough and tough always getting into something. So many never knew my story. And I don't really spend a lot of time talking about myself. So I knew the trauma in terms of what that 7-year-old was feeling because of what I had gone through just as a 7-year-old. And so we became very close. Brother Gerard, Brother Muhammad, his mother, Brother Muhammad, his father, Brother Muhammad, his brothers, Datron and Devron, Brother Muhammad. So we were always talking to one another, checking in on one another. And so we had a rally for them. And the day we had the rally, within 2 hours, the police had raided her sister's home. Nobody had committed no crime or anything. They just made up some type of excuse. Some guy ran in there with a gun is what they said. They raided the home. And then when they raided the home, they didn't arrest nobody in the house except Lakeisha Dinkins. Took her to the station, didn't charge her with anything. And we went to the station, myself, I think it was Doc Cheatham at that time. He was the head of the NAACP. And the commander at the Eastern District, his name was Chevrolet. And he was talking to Doc Cheatham, and he used that as an opportunity to sneak Miss Lakeisha Dinkins out of the Eastern District and took her down to Central Booking. And so I told Doc Cheatham at that time, I would never waste my time again having no conversation with anybody in that Eastern District. And we would go up to the Eastern District Police Station almost daily and weekly having demonstrations up there. So much so that one day, Rick Height, who was working under Leonard Ham as his community liaison for the most part, and Rick Height went and got some fake activists from down Greenmount Avenue and brought them up to the Eastern District, calling themselves confronting us at the Eastern District Police Station about why would we be demonstrating against the Eastern District Police Station. And this is how they controlled a lot of these community groups and community associations. Their job was to co-sign for the police department, even when they were in the wrong with arresting the 7-year-old Gerard Mungo. And so the young brother got his bike back. The officers were never arrested and charged. That time, Patricia Jessamy was the state's attorney. So they all should have been charged. The White Pettit filed, of course, a suit against those 5 officers because it was 5 of them. I think Moss was one, Jones was one, Coburn. There were 2 more. I can't remember. Mahan was one, and there was one more. I can't think of the last one's name. See, I don't have notes because this is right here and in my heart in terms of when we were fighting them. So you remember your enemies and remember them well. So the case went to Howard County because they were asking for a change of venue. And the officer said that they couldn't get a fair trial because of Darren Muhammad. You can pull all this up. They said because of Darren Muhammad and the publicity that they couldn't get a fair trial in Baltimore City, so they wanted to move the trial to Howard County. The Baltimore Examiner wrote about it. Sun Paper wrote about it, and then they tried to come back and try to do a, they came back and they tried to do a, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say it was a psyops that they tried to do on me, but they were sending people my way to try to see if they could offer me something. They sent Laura Vazella. She wrote an article about me. She said it was the man that knew too much is what she called me. That's what Laura Vazella, who used to write for the Sun Paper, said. Then, after we confronted Leonard Ham and Sheila Dixon, we confronted them in the church. We was down at we was down at Union Baptist Church. under the late, great Reverend Vernon Dobson, a member of the Goon Squad. We had confronted them in the church about what they had did to Gerard Mungo. And I said to Leonard Ham, if you was any type of man, you would have the badges of those officers before you came to this meeting tonight. But obviously you don't have the testicular fortitude to run that police department. And of course, myself, Brother David Johnson, a number of us confronted them inside of the church. They thought they was going to have a riot in the church, man. You know, some of y'all get in the church and y'all get docile. Well, Brother Muhammad, we gave him the hostile gospel because that's what Jesus would do. We gave him a hostile gospel in the church. Okay? So the next day, I go out to Radio 1 to do my show. The Sun paper sent Gregory Kane out to the radio station to interview me, the late Gregory Kane. And it was, now you on Radio 1. I had what they call a customized show. A customized show is not supposed to be more powerful than Larry Young's show because they figure they the anchor show because he comes on every day, Monday through Friday for 4 hours. Here's your little brother that got a customized show. More people listening to my show for 2 hours on Friday and confronting the powers that be in the city about this case of little Gerard Mungo than they were listening to Larry Young's show. So the jealousy and the envy was sitting up in their hearts. How do we stop this brother? Right? Because he's a real activist. He's not somebody that you can buy and pay because they're going to always see what they can get. Lord Vizella kept calling me, talking about she wanted to sit down and have lunch with me. I said, thank you, Miss Vizella, but I don't do Italian. You know what I mean? I'm a black man. I don't do Italian. So I said, thanks, but no thanks. I mean, she called me, consistently. And then they sent Gregory Kane. So they were trying, this is what the enemy will do. When they see you a real activist, you can't be bought, you can't be sold. They're gonna sift you, as Jesus said, right? As he told Peter, he said that the devil gonna sift you as wheat because he's looking for your weakness now to see what you like. Do you like the camera? Do you like to be on the microphone all the time, right? Do you like a man? Do you like a woman? Do you like children? They were testing you to see what you really, see if you can be bought or sold or offer you a position. And it was nothing that they could offer me. So it was for the first time in this city that you had a Muslim that wasn't necessarily inside of the mosque, but was having an influence on the politics of the city. And they didn't know how to deal with Brother Muhammad. But I learned from Minister Jamil how to deal with him. And I used that because I was his understudy. So now the case moves to Howard County. It lasted for about 2 weeks. The jury comes back, rules in the favor of Gerard Mungo and his mother, but they didn't want to compensate the family. They didn't even want to pay, showing you the racism that's out there in Howard County. Didn't change, right? They didn't want to compensate the mother, even pay for counseling services for the child, man. That was the sad part. But the mother took that, the young brother took that, and they grew from that. He went into, of course, middle school, went on to high school. Became a basketball player while he was in elementary school and went on into middle school playing basketball. Then moved on to high school playing basketball and became a star athlete at Patterson High School. And this past, and that's Brother Gerard on my right, that would be on your left if you're watching on the screen there, the slimmer one. That's his brother Datron. And when I went to the house on Saturday, he hadn't seen me in years. And it warmed my heart. I went to drop off. They were having a cookout. And they were having a cookout. I said, well, let me bring some food to show my, that's our tradition, y'all. Don't act like y'all don't know. We bringing food. We bringing burgers. We bringing hot dogs. I know some of y'all vegetarian. You bringing some soy burgers and some other kind of burgers. But Brother Muhammad was bringing some turkey burgers, all right? So I dropped off the food. Gerard and his mom wasn't there. And Datron was there. And he said Brother Datron hadn't seen me in years. We hugged each other, embraced. And he said to me, you made my day, Brother Muhammad, because the same way he saw me in 2007, now 12 years ago, he sees me today. Still on the scene, still here, still clear, still sincere, right? So we had a wonderful time, took more pictures than that. I just posted that one picture there, and I think I took some pictures with his mother, Sister Lakeisha. And soon we're going to have them sitting in studio with us as well. But his graduation was this past Sunday. I was honored to have him on the show Saturday, so I want to give you a couple of minutes of that interview with Brother Gerard. For those of you that didn't hear the interview, And when we have them on, as I said to his mother, we got to set up a GoFundMe because he now has a full-term 4-year scholarship to Millersville University. But we want to make sure that he's covered and don't want for anything. And for the city and the city officials, that they should be supporting this young brother. And then, again, lifting up all of our young people that have graduated this year. Not just talking about the young people that was running down at the Inner Harbor, that they probably could have been working with some of them, paid to do that anyway. But I'm talking about our young people that's graduated from high school. Some graduate from high school this weekend that we should be lifting up, man. Some that have graduated from high school in other cities and other states that's not being lifted up. So the white media and even the black media is not doing it. So it's on us because this is the black media. When you listen to me, when you listen to Radio on Fire, you listening to the black media. And some of you got children, grandchildren, nieces and nephews that have graduated and you haven't called one radio station to lift them up. Shame on you, man. Shame on you if you haven't done that. Because it used to be a time that we would be whipped, we would be beat, we would be killed for even wanting to read. Now we got young people graduating from high school and you're not accentuating the positive. You're not encouraging that. You're not elevating that and celebrating that. Then it's not nothing wrong with the young people. It's something wrong with you if you don't want to elevate that. If you don't want to scream and shout about that. That's something you can scream and shout about. Because you had to go through that. They had to endure through that. And nobody can never take that diploma away from them. They earned that. And hopefully, God willing, they're willing and able to go to the next level in terms of higher institutions of learning or going into vocational school, or they can go down the port and get a job at the Port of Baltimore. Because I'm going to talk about that. Since Jack Young want to talk about our young people boxing, they should be boxing. Yeah, they should be boxing as far as manufacturing. They should be boxing when it comes to jobs. They should be boxing when it comes to down at the port and the fort in terms of moving them cars off them ships and being able to earn $100,000 is what the longshoremen and longshorewomen earn. So if you want to do something, Jack Young, the same way you said and signed as a city council president that 51% of all jobs should be going to city residents, now put your money where your mouth is. You got to make that a reality for these young people. That's how you turn the squeegee boys into the Bee Gees. You got to make sure that you enforce what you said as a city council president, and now you enforce as the mayor. But don't be enforcing no stupidity saying you want our young boys to come down to the Baltimore arena and put on a show like they some damn, that's what an ex-slave wants you to do, to act like a slave, a brute. Use your brute. Come on down here and box to entertain white folk. Now, some of our young people might want to go into boxing, might want to go into athletics. But in a city where all this money is coming in, at a port that's one of the most richest ports in the country, the Port of Baltimore, that our young people should be able to go. And that's one of the things you haven't seen the mayor, former mayor, or this current mayor say. Let's sit down with the union reps at the Port of Baltimore. How many young people do y'all need to hire this year? Let's be clear, man. I did shows on that over at Radio 1. When we were talking about corruption at the Port of Baltimore and how the Italians and how the Greeks and how the Hispanics now are coming in at the port and they moving on our black unions. We were fighting with the black unions. Brother Riker, Rock, McKenzie, Ill, and all of the brothers, Brother Calvin and others can tell you, Brother Womack and others, how we were fighting with them, right? And sometimes for them in terms of what they've been trying to do with our black unions around this country, but particularly in the city around the ports, man. That Baltimore City and all the ports, that's what the big fight was in Detroit. Some didn't even see that. The fight with Kwame Kilpatrick, it's all about the forts. They're not making no more new waterways, man. And as they're expanding the Panama Canal for the next 100 years, all these ships that come into Baltimore, all this products that come into the port right there, that our young people can go to the port, start off at $100,000 a year. You can pay your way to college with that kind of money. That's where they start $100,000 a year. That's the base that they start with. You can go beyond that. And the only thing they have to do is join the union. You can join the union. I think you got to pay $2,000 to $3,000 to join the union, but they take that out your paycheck. They take that out your paycheck over a period of time. So if you don't hear Jack Young and our politicians saying that, then what they saying to you is, I always say, when the deals are cut, as the syndicates say, when the deals are cut, if you're not at the table, your ass is on the menu. And so we don't want to be at no damn boxing ring. We want to be at the table where the deals are being cut. We want to be at the table where the deals are being divvied up in terms of the millions and billions of dollars that's coming into the city. That's what we need our young people to be doing, man. When you're talking about boxing, you should be talking about the summer jobs, but not just the summer jobs, the seasonal jobs. Then going beyond the seasonal jobs to full-time jobs. And give all these brothers coming home from prison, they need to have amnesty like the Hispanics and all the illegals that's coming into the city. How can the Catholic Church, and that's part of the reason why they want to give, because the Catholics say this is a new group of Catholics. These are new converts that they're going to have now. Since most of the Hispanics coming south of the border are coming from majority Catholic countries. El Salvador, Honduras, Mexico. Blacks are kind of breaking away from the Catholic Church. Some of them are. Some of them are. And so, but if you can give them amnesty and they're in the country illegally, why you can't give amnesty to these brothers coming home from prison? Why you can't give amnesty to brothers that they say owe child support? That's what we should be talking about. Not falling for whether Jack Young is right, saying that our young people should be coming down to he called it the Civic Center. Show you how dumb he is, man. He really reminds me and look like that character from the Flintstones called Gazoo. See, we can pull that Gazoo character up, brother. That's Jack. Hello, dum-dum. He clearly is a dum-dum to say something asinine like that. That young people should come down to the Civic Center, he called it. Hasn't been the Civic Center in over 20, 30 years, man. It was the Baltimore Arena for years when one of Jack Young's sugar daddies, Ed Hale, had it, right? First Myrna Arena, and now it's the Rural Farm when one of Sheila Dixon's sugar daddies, Ed Hale. Don't look like y'all don't know what I'm talking about. You know what the hell I'm saying here? Ed Hale was one of Sheila Dixon's sugar daddies, along with Kathy Pugh, along with Stephanie Rollins. And it came out that Ed Hale was working for the CIA. Y'all can Google that story. That Ed Hale was working for the CIA, man. They said the First Myrna Arena Bank, Ed Hale. They said that he was brought in by Buzzy Krongard and his brothers. There's two Krongards. Number one and number two man in the CIA was the Krongard. But they said Ed Hale worked for the CIA, man. But nevertheless, it was called First Myrna Arena. Then it became Rural Farm Arena after Ed Hale claimed he was bankrupt. So he said. Okay? But nevertheless, let me go to this clip, man, of my interview with Gerard Mungo. Then we're going to come back and talk about this whole issue of the harbor, the issue of our youth, and your asinine statement of your mayor, Jack Young. We got that picture of Gazoo yet, my brother? See if we can pull that picture up. We're going to go to the interview. When I come back, see if we got that picture and photo of Gazoo from the Flintstones talking about the dum-dums. But let's go to this interview with Gerard Mungo. It's about 10 minutes, and then we're going to come back and go a little deeper on the state of the city. So
as I have an opportunity really to have this young brother back on the line and just to be in, of course, the number, those that are congratulating this young brother, but all of our young people that are doing the right thing and are graduating Baltimore City Public Schools tomorrow, and just honored and thankful for him, for his mother, for his father, for his extended family, to the village, and of course to his crew and all of those, his coaches, and of course all of those that have just been a part of his growth and development. But I want to thank him for just giving me a few minutes on the show, because I know he's getting ready, of course, for the celebrations that's going on today. Celebrations that really started last week and, of course, probably last month. But I want to take this opportunity, introduce to some and reintroduce to others, and welcome back to the state of the city, really for the first time, this young man-child that's now grown into a young man and is still growing. But he's graduating tomorrow and then going on to college, but I'm going to allow him to tell his story. So sit back, relax, send him some positive synergy, energy, open up your hearts and minds. We introduce to some, reintroduce to others. Welcome back to the state of the city, Brother Gerard Mungo. Let me see if we can get him up. Peace, young brother. How are you?
Fine, sir. How you doing today?
I'm good, brother. Good to hear your voice, man. How are you and how's the family?
We hanging in there. We taking care of everything. Taking care of, getting ready for my graduation, as you said.
Yes, sir. Okay. So for those that may not know, man, let's talk about tomorrow. You're graduating. Let's give the high school where you're graduating and what's next, of course, after graduation.
I'm graduating from Patterson High School, and next I'll be attending Millersville University on a full ride.
Yes, sir. Full ride, full scholarship. Yes, sir. Okay. And, of course, can't do the show and the interview, man, without shouting out those that you need to shout out. So let's start with that before we go a little deeper in the show, all right?
Shout out to my mom, my basketball coaches, and the people that supported me throughout the whole situation that I've been through.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Of course, what's your mom's name and what's the coach's name?
My mom's name is Lakeisha Dinkins. My coach's name are Darnell Dobbins, Janelle McCoy, Derek Oliver, and Harry Martin.
Yes, sir. Okay. All right. Now, recently there was a piece and an interview that you did on Channel 13. Talk about that if you could.
Well, they just came up to the school, kind of catch up with me on how things was going, and like how do I still think about like the situation that happened? What was it, like 11 years ago or 12 years ago?
12 years ago. Yes, sir. 2007.
Yeah.
Right. And what else? I mean, because they talked about what advice did you have for young people. Talk about that, because you just shared.
Yeah.
I think just some sound, good advice for young people, brother.
Yeah, they asked me, like, what should I, like, if the youth asked me any questions, like, what would I tell them? Like, I said I would tell them, stay in school, stay focused on something that they like doing, and it's okay to be a follower as long as you got a good leader.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Now, talk about, for those that may not know, I'm not going to get into the whole thing that happened back in 2012. I know you really don't want. Sometimes people just, some people get stuck in those points and they just want to keep rehashing. I like to look at, of course, I always say a setback is nothing but a setup for a comeback, So
Right.
talk about how you got started into basketball.
Well, first, like, that's how the situation happened. I started riding dirt bikes.
Yes.
So I was always an active kid, so I wanted to try something new. So I thought dirt bikes was illegal in Baltimore City. So my dad asked that I wanted to play basketball, and I started playing basketball. And from there, I loved the game. And when I lost my first game, I started crying. That's when I knew I really loved basketball.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Welcome to the club, all of us. You know what I mean? Say winners never lose and losers never win. So, you're a born winner, and being that born winner, you definitely didn't like losing that basketball game, of course. And then you played in the summer leagues, but you eventually grew. And, of course, when most people saw you for the first time, they saw that cute little brother with the cornrow hair, right? Yes, sir. But, of course, you grew. And you went on to high school. Talk about just that high school experience and playing basketball in high school.
Well, playing basketball for Patterson, they was a winning program. A lot of people know Kill Carver going there. Like, Patterson isn't what everybody think it is. Like, as long as you go in there, focus on what you want to do, get what you can get out of it, you're going to do something good. Like, in the basketball program, the coaches are hard on you. They make sure you do good on the court and off the court. They on top. I could say they was on top of me more in my books than they was on the court, because they knew the type of basketball player I was and what I was capable of doing.
Yes, sir. Were you able to travel, I guess, like in the state, outside the state, through basketball in your basketball program?
Yeah, with my summer program, Team Thrill,
yes.
Will Barton team, and they played at Fix the Denver Nuggets now.
Right.
We traveled. We was an Under Armour team, so we played on like all the Under Armour circuits that had different locations of where we played: Atlanta, California, different states for real. Like, we'd just travel, and they'd take care of everything we need, like as far as gear and sometimes food.
Right. Okay. Now, for those that may not know, who's Will Barton?
He is Baltimore. He's another Baltimore athlete. He kind of grew up my situation. Only thing is, he get arrested when he was young.
Right.
He came from the struggle like I did, and he really like my role model for real. He plays for the Denver Nuggets in the NBA right now.
Yes, sir. They got a nice little team that's grinding and made it to the playoffs this year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like probably one game away from going to the going to the Western Conference Finals. So,
the Western Conference Finals. Yeah.
Yeah, to the Western Conference Finals. Who are some others that I think that have just been an inspiration to you in terms of kind of how you kind of model your game? Because you're left-handed and right-handed, or you're left-handed?
I'm left-handed and right-handed.
Okay. So who's some others that's just been an inspiration to you in terms of, how you kind of try to model your game after?
Well, it's a league here in Baltimore called the Brunson League.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of pros. Like, all of them not in the league, or most of them played in the league. And I see them like, I like to look at a lot of Baltimore players, because Baltimore players are they gritty and they got that toughness. So I like to try to compare myself to everyone.
Right. Yes, sir.
I don't know too many of their names.
Right.
But.
Okay. All right. Well, we always say if you can make it in Baltimore, you can make it anywhere. Of course, tomorrow's coming. You got graduation tomorrow, man. Just talk about how you're feeling with that, because again, a lot of our young people don't graduate from high school, so this is an honor. And I think were you held back 1 year?
Yeah, I was held back 1 year because of the situation.
Right. Yes, sir. And of course, as I said, a setup is nothing but a setback for a comeback. You know what I mean? A setup for a comeback. So talk about, I guess, just how you feeling in terms of being able just graduating, and how I think that'll make not just your mom proud, but your brothers, right, and the rest of your family proud that you're now going on to college, being one of the first in your family to go to college, right?
Yeah, I'm just happy to make them proud. It's a feeling out of this world to be able to walk across the stage and get my diploma.
Yes, sir. Good. Okay. Happy to hear that. Now, is there anything you need? You know, because as I said to Mom, in terms of Cash App, GoFundMe, is there anything you need? Because we're going to make sure that you have everything you need to succeed. That's our duty and responsibility. The African proverb says it takes a village to raise a child. We always say the family is the village and the village is the family. So if there's anything you need, of course, we just a telephone call away. You just let us know, because it's still a learning process. All this is still new for you as you go into that next level. Is that right?
Right.
Yes, sir. Okay. And of course, you recently had a prom. Talk about that, where the prom was held. And of course, I saw you again looking handsome, as I said before. But talk about the prom and just that whole experience as well. Because some of our young people never get an opportunity to experience what you experienced. And one, through basketball, how it's opened up the world to you in terms of traveling, right? And now, of course, I think even through, again, I think still being a teenager at the same time. So talk about that experience with the prom. Because proms are big send-offs now. Proms are almost like weddings in a sense right now. As I've been watching it, right?
Prom in a helicopter.
Yes, so with the prom in a helicopter. So talk about that experience as well.
Yeah, I've been to prom all 4 years of my high school career, but my 12th grade year, it was like, I think it was the best one. Like, I felt all the love in there, especially like after me doing that interview on WBAL.
Yeah.
Everybody was showing me a lot of love, telling me congratulations, and all my friends, all my friends was there. Cool. We just partying, dancing, laughing.
Right.
It was just fun.
Yes, sir. Got to live it up. Talk about, I think, as you mentioned that, of course, WBAL. I think I seen the one that was on WJZ 13, but nevertheless, talk about, I think, the importance of us celebrating our young people that's doing the right thing, because too many times the news media focus on the young people that's not doing the right thing. But talk about, I think, the importance of us celebrating that, and I think also, demonstrating it and putting it out there, whether we're doing it on social media, but I think also our young people that's doing the right thing, Brother Gerard.
Yeah, I think they should focus on more of the people like doing the right thing. Like right now, I'm next to a block party at a church. Like,
yes.
They should be here recording things like this instead of. But as soon as somebody get killed, they're quick to run down there with the camera and put it in the scene. So I suggest they should show more love to people that's doing the right thing.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Has anyone talked to you about doing a documentary on you? Has anyone approached you on doing a documentary?
Nah, nobody approached me, but I was thinking about doing like one of my own.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I think we have to. That's very important. Yes, sir. Now, talk about, of course, have you had a chance, obviously, with the college that you're going to, is Millersville College, is that correct?
Millersville University, yeah.
Millersville University. Have you had a chance to visit already?
Yeah, I've been up there twice. I've been up there for official visit, and I've been up there like to help out with camp.
Okay, good. Talk about what that experience has been like for you.
This whole little journey just been like love, I just been happy, like.
Right. Yes, sir.
It's amazing, man. Like I went up there, everybody was showing me love. Like I've been up there, kids wanted to take pictures.
Okay. Good. Now talk about for the young brothers, man, because sometimes, of course, some of the young brothers that we grow up with, as we're growing, some of them may not go off to college, right? So talk about, I think, also how they've shown you love as well, as I saw some of the pictures of the proms and how the brothers just showed up, because your success is their success, and how them brothers just were showing you love as well, brother.
Yeah, like the whole city, they just take me in as like like they just love me, man. Like everybody come out support, like during the basketball season. People coming from the east. I mean, people coming from over west to come all the way up to Patterson and just to come watch the games. Like, it's amazing. Like the city,
right?
Like, they know me. Like,
yes, sir. Good. Now, I got to ask, has any of the city officials reached out to you? They told me one time, your mom told me Brandon Scott tried to reach out to you. And she asked me how you should handle that. But
I'm real close to Brandon Scott. Like,
okay.
I talked to him here and there, and they haven't reached out to me. But when we had won the state championship,
right.
We had went down there, me and Jack Young was just talking.
Okay.
We had a few words.
Right.
I've been on, like, since the situation happened.
Yeah. Okay, good. Again, as I said, I wasn't going to hold you long, and I definitely wasn't going to spend a lot of time, I think, revisiting what happened to you at 7 years old. If it's something you want to say about that, I mean, of course, the floor is yours, the microphone is yours. But, again, I don't spend a lot of time talking about what was, because we know what happened. I was just saddened that, even though once you went to court, the jury at that time didn't want to compensate your family for what you had gone through. But is there anything you want to share and talk about, of course, at that time in terms of that whole experience, brother?
Not too much. I just want to say I'm just glad that the whole situation happened.
Right.
If it wouldn't happen, I probably wouldn't be who I am today.
Yeah, I always say whatever don't break you is only going to help to make you, and every knock is a boost. So, they kind of boosted you and not indirectly in terms of with everything that happened, but that means that, it was part of God's plan, and you definitely was in God's hands, brother, right. with what happened with you. And, of course, you're still growing, and that's the important thing is you're still growing and still learning and then teaching others as well. So just thank you. Anything as we close, any closing words, comments you want to share with the family in terms of that big day tomorrow? And, of course, what we can do to help you and support you once you go to Millersville University as well.
I just want to say thank you for having me and keep following me.
Yes, sir. Okay.
The journey has ended.
Okay. All right. I thank you very much, young brother. Go in peace, man. And I know you're having a cookout later on the day, so I got to do a righteous drive-by and get past there, all right?
Food was good,
yes,
too.
Sir.
All right, brother Gerard. Peace now.
All right, see you.
All right, get a greetings to the family. Again, family, just concluded our interview with young brother Gerard Mungo. Again, he's 19 years old now, the little man-child. Again, as I said before, arrested in Baltimore City, but kidnapped literally because he was driving a pocket-sized dirt bike, which really are not illegal. But as I said on the show the other night, and for those of you that followed me since this happened, we were the first ones that stood with that family, with his mother, with him, with his other relatives as well, with the father, and the Officer Colborn was trying to steal the bike. And that's why he took the bike from Gerard, took it up to off of Madison Avenue. They got some gray garages back there off of like Kenwood and one of them little streets. And he snatched it away over there, thinking at the end of the shift he was going to take that bike home to Harford County.
With young brother Gerard Mungo, talking, of course, about his graduation, man. And now he's going on to Millersville University. So I'm very proud of the young brother. Love him. Love his mother, love his brothers, his family, the extended family, all of those in East Baltimore that just wrapped their arms around the family. I think they were living on Oliver Street or Federal Street at the time, and they've grown. His mom has grown tremendously since then. He's grown. His brothers have grown. They've lost in terms of her mother and other relatives through time have passed on. But I know that her mother and parents and family are very proud of her in terms of how she's grown and still navigating this young brother. And she got 3 young black men. I told her she needed to do a documentary on just that to help young mothers coming up. That you got mothers in the city that have lost 3 young black men, lost 2 young sons. She got 3 sons that she's raised now, all of them. Gerard is the youngest. He's 19. So you got Devron, who's the oldest, who's older. You got Datron. So it's just been an honor to watch them young brothers grow and develop. And this is what's supposed to happen. And what we see oftentimes is the state of arrested development of our young people in this city. So we got to elevate and celebrate when we open up the lines at 8:30. You got a young man, young woman graduating and has graduated. And whether you calling from Baltimore, whether you calling from Philadelphia, Chicago, as I saw our sister Katasha Jones, who was a part of course, Straight Black Pride, and her son who's graduated now. So we got to elevate our young people, man. But it's sad, and if you notice, the news media in this town, Black, brown, red, yellow, and white. The white corporate media, but even Radio 1 hasn't stopped to say, let's open up. Kathy Hughes got 52 radio stations. She got Tom joining them, dumbing you down all day, every day. Ricky Smiley, D.L. Hughley, who else they got? Rush Parr in the morning, Donnie Simpson in the evening. I don't know. Have they brought Michael Baisden back? I don't know. Right? Roland Martin or Rollover Martin. But it's sad that the only time they want to use the black community when they got a Tom Joyner, I don't know if they call it the Sky Show, the Fantastic Voyage. Now he's on the Farewell Voyage. I had to talk about that eventually. He's been co-opted and co-dropped, even by his good friend, the old Jewish guy, David Cantor. So Tom Joyner, after 2019, that's it. There will be no more Tom Joyner. That's it. Thank goodness. Yeah, but this is going to be it for sure right now. So, and thank goodness, because outside that little raise money for the national, what do you call that group? The National Council of Negro Colleges. Other than that, I mean, what else does he do? Besides set y'all up on some of them carnival cruises, that's it. That's it. You know, you can go see Universal Circus for that. They bring back all the old acts, and then some of them end up dying. Like, what's my man that died? He's supposed to be going on. I guess he didn't get his check. Was that my man Johnny Kemp? Or Johnny Depp? Johnny Kemp. Yeah, just got paid Friday night. I guess he didn't get paid, right? So you tune to the state of the city. When we open up the lines, man, is all I'm saying is that all this media in this city, in this state, in this country, black media, but they only graduation I heard black media talking about was Morehouse with a billionaire, I think his name was Robert F. Smith, donated and said he paying off all the debts of those who graduate, those young men that graduate from Morgan, right? Other than that, I ain't heard nothing about no other graduations. That's it, except they talk about a graduation where one of these celebrities might get an honorary degree, Missy Elliott or somebody. Yeah, but other than that, I mean, they're not, well, that's college, but nothing on a high school level. Nothing on a high school level. And if you've seen it when I open the lines or you on Facebook, please let me know. But I haven't seen it in this city, man. But yet they've spent all their time castigating all black youth for what they claim was some youth running wild down at the Inner Harbor, man. That's all they've done. But yet when the police officer do something, you know what they say? Can't blame all police for what a few may do. And it's the gift that keeps on giving. Every week is something, or every day. They got 115 cars that was sidelined. Because a woman said she got raped in one of them. They couldn't figure out which one it was. So they had 115 police cars that's been sidelined till they can go in and inspect the vehicles to find out if there's any forensics in the vehicle, man. But and then you had a police officer turn himself in last week, and he on staycation. He got paid. Michael O'Donnell or what was his name? O'Malley, O'Donnell, one of them. They tell me he in a relationship with a black woman. They said that he wasn't he wasn't going to turn himself in, so that's why they made him turn in all his guns, because he was ready to go postal, really go postal, not some of them psyopses, false flags, and active shooter drills that they be reporting, and you don't never see a tisket, tasket, picnic basket, but everybody be crying. They already got a GoFundMe set up. So-and-so died, 11 people, and you don't never see no bodies come out the building. You don't even see a funeral. You see a memorial service, but you don't see no funerals. Most of them ain't nothing but some psyopses that they running on the people, okay? But nevertheless, we're going to open up at the bottom of the hour, talk about that. Meantime, let me talk about some of this Baltimore news, man. Next week, I'll get back into the national news. Jussie Smollett. They say a man ran up on the stage and snatched the microphone from Kamala Harris. I said, who was it, Jussie Smollett? who was it, Jussie Smollett? Might have been another hoax right there. They said, man ran up on the stage. And yeah, we might have been a hippie. We better find out, see if it was really a hippie or somebody just dressed as a hippie. Could be one of her campaign staff members. You know, got to find out. But you're going to see all types of trickery, deception, and misdirection taking place over these next couple of months right now, between now and the election. So keep your eyes open for that. But we'll get back into that, I promise you. Next week, we'll get into that, because that case, of course, they're building against Smollett. They're building against Tina Chen, although she didn't get a subpoena, which she used to work for the Obamas. She's tied to the Women's March, tied to the Me Too and Time's Up movement, which I'm eventually come back next week and got to talk about that, because, again, with this bill that was passed by the Congress. Thank goodness the Senate hadn't passed it, and thank goodness Trump ain't gonna pass it. That LGBTQZ equality bill, which is really the pedophile amnesty bill. And I think when I talk about that next week, I may have two brothers either join me in studio or join me on the line, and Brother Irritated Genie and Dr. Randy Short, to lay all of that out for our people. Because there's a lot of hidden information that's in that bill. But basically, the men are going to say that they you, sisters. And the men going to replace, and I'll play that clip. I think it's one of the white women, Jewish white women named Beck, who said she was the liaison for the mayor's LGBT task force. Now, you into it this month right here, which is called Pride Month, right? Not straight Black Pride Month, because we straight Black Pride 365. But this is their gay Pride Month. And they're going to have their big to-do event next week, Father's Day weekend. They'll be downtown in Mount Vernon, right? They'll be out Drew Hill Park on Father's Day, right? Flying their LGBTQ flag. Now, they ain't going to do that on Mother's Day weekend. They damn sure ain't going to do it on the 4th of July weekend. Them white yahoos, them white nationalists, the white independents, yeah, they will burn that flag down if they try to fly that flag next to Old Glory, or try to fly it next to Stars and Stripes. Tell them go out there to Fort McHenry, fly that flag next to Francis Scott Key and see what happened. But clearly, they must have a self-hatred for their father that they would do that on what's traditionally called Father's Day weekend. The Bible said, honor your mothers and your fathers so your days shall be long. But I got to talk about and go into that because they're basically hijacking the civil rights that straight blacks fought for, black men, women, and children, to address what was going on in the corporate boardrooms, not what was going on in the bedrooms. Now they're using Title 9, Title 7, Title 8, 9 of the civil rights movement, talking about these LGBTQZ and the trannies now, that they're claiming that our rights was really for them. And this is the dangerous thing in terms of those that allowed them and gave them access to their platforms. And for them to say that, when I do the program next week, I'm going to lay it all out. So that you understand Michael, I think his name was Michael Silver, that wrote the gay manifesto, so that you'll understand what's in the Committee of 300, the Illuminati manifestos about how you're going to make pedophilia mainstream. All of that's there. You'll understand how Black Lives Matters, which was really their LGBTQZ group that they set up and established out of University of Stanford, like they set up and established groups and think tanks out of Stanford universities like Maulana Karenga and his group, the one that bought us Kwanzaa, but unfortunately when he was with us and them other groups when he was in prison, Stanford University, they do more behavioral mind control as much, if not more, than what they did at the, what's that British one, since Trump was just in Britain, the Tavistock Institute, which brought us the Beatles, which brought us the evil Beatles as they were called. And we keep coming back to that because they got a Beatles movie coming out. This is the summer of 1969, 50 years ago, in which they carried out the helter-skelter Manson murders. So keep your eyes open because they may pull off something this summer. This is why they keep talking about 1969, 50 years ago. This is why 2020 just did the piece on Chairman Fred Hampton Sr. and Minister of Defense Mark Clark, and had Fred Hampton Jr., I believe, was in it. His wife, who at that time was Deborah Johnson, Mama Njeri, right? So keep your eyes open because I'm certain that they're going to come back and make a move on the Hampton family or some members of the Panther Party that are still living, whether it's Assata Shakur or someone else. It ain't no coincidence that we're in the time of 69 years ago, the Panther 21. That's why you got to study history. The Panthers 21, and tomorrow or 2 days from now, we celebrate the birthday of Tupac Shakur, right? Is that the 7th, I believe, or the 13th? But we're celebrating either way this month. His mother won that case in 1969, which helped to free the Panther 21 that was in jail at that time. So don't sleep on any of that, because our enemies don't sleep on that. And they'll always come back around the anniversary, is what they'll do. So I just wanted to put that out there because they've been talking about 1969. You've been hearing about that 69. And ain't no coincidence. The number 6 and 9, they'll start sacrificing artists or former artists or movie stars that they created, right? With the number 69 in their numerology is what they'll do. But let me get back into Baltimore. Because I'm going to lay a lot of that out next week. But we'll understand why the girl or the professor out there at Berkeley, who was a part of Black Lives Matter, said our job is to queer out the black community. She didn't say clear out the black community. Her name was Melina Abdullah, right? Now you got to watch. You got the gay Muslims. I don't know how they be Muslims with the gay now. You got to watch them. That's why I say got some Assalamu Fakeums. All right? But the gay Muslims. And she got interconnected and locked into the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March. And she said in that interview, and I thank my brother Irritated Genie for sharing it with us, but she said our job and mission is to queer out the black community. That's what their job is to do, to queer you out. But not you, your children. Because they know they can't get you, some of you, although they can punk some of you, but your children is the ones who they really want, okay? To create gender confusion, or what they call gender fluidity, whatever the hell that is. These gender benders is what I'm talking about. When we was coming up, they were called gender benders, diaper swipers, right? The pedophile, the semen demons, right? You know what they are, the cellar dwellers. That's what I'm talking about, okay? But I'll get into that and lay that out. And God willing, I can have Brother Irritated Genie and have Dr. Randy Short join me as we lay a lot of that information out. But I want to bring it on home to Baltimore for these next 15 minutes before we open up the lines, I think, at 8:30 and open up Facebook for comments. But this is your man, Jack Young. Young suggests boxing to settle beef. See if we can get that up there so you can see. This is Jack Young saying that we should have young people go to the Baltimore arena. Now, he said this on Sunday night at a Baltimore United rally against gun violence. Tomorrow is the 6th. Friday is the 7th, the National Gun Violence Awareness Day. But he said this as they were in Northeast Baltimore, think right across from Parkside Garden. You heard me talking about Parkside Garden, Brother Dennis Harding. Got young people. That's that picture. That's my picture of the great Gazoo. Now that's Gazoo on the screen. And this guy's looking like the Gazoo. He's not the great Gazoo. He's the late Gazoo in terms of Jack Young. He's an embarrassment to the city of Baltimore. Y'all need to keep him off the microphone and keep him off of television. Somebody clearly told his ass he's telegenic. He's not telegenic. Let's be clear about that. All right? And he's definitely not the smartest man in the room. He's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. All those accolades you heard before, and at least all of those words we've heard before, right? But keep Jack Young, man, off the microphone. To say some stupid ass stuff like this, that black youth should settle their street beefs by going to the boxing ring. Then you get a brother like Umar that runs Umar Boxing, Marvin McDowell, saying that Marvin McDowell can't even get money for his boxing academy, man. Let's be clear. That little hole in the wall spot he got, man, up there on Pennsylvania Avenue, he can't even get no money to run that spot, man. So let's be clear. But I think Jack Young took too many hits upside the head when he was out there slinging drugs on the corner, or he was coming to Mac Lewis gym. I don't know which one it was. I'm going to have to ask the brothers in the street over in East Baltimore. But if Jack Young was serious about black youth, man, and getting black youth off the street, then Jack Young would say to John Patarakis that got H&S Bakery, or the children of John Patarakis, y'all got to hire these black youth over here that live in Perkins Homes. Hire these black youth. Don't use Perkins Homes, Michael Beatty, in order to get tips. Tips are called tax increment financing. They don't have to pay the money back 1 year. They pay it back over a period of time, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Or they have pilot payment in lieu of taxes. If Jack Young was serious, he would tell them, hire all them youth that live down in Perkins Homes so they don't have to go out to the corner and squeegee. But not only hire the youth, if you're going to pay them $10, $11 an hour, rather than pay them $11, pay them $10. Take that other dollar and let them have investments in H&S Bakery. H&S Bakery makes bread up and down the eastern seaboard, man. Let them own some stock at that young age is what I'm saying. Then you going over to Under Armour, since co-signing for Kevin Plank. Let's say to Kevin Plank, all this land that you're giving him over, it was front page in Monday's paper, man. City leaders, not the Harbor Place struggle. It was front page, man, if you've been reading the paper. Revitalizing a once forgotten place, man. You know what they talking about? Cherry Hill. They talking about the park across from Cherry Hill. All that water, all that land right there. It's called Port Covington. This is the land that Sheila Dixon got in trouble for. Sheila Dixon was given this land at back then, 2008 and 2009, to Patrick Turner. $1.8 billion is what it was supposed to be. But nobody's ever asked what happened to that money. And where did Patrick Turner go? I know he's still around. But they're not making no more land in the city, man. So again, you have Kevin Plank, the owner of Under Armour, the CEO, who sits on the board of the Greater Baltimore Committee. So if Jack gonna be Gazoo, then he need to be able to talk to some dum-dums and prove he's not a dum-dum, okay? But he could say to Kevin Plank, you got Under Armour. They just opened up 2 more Under Armour plants in Baltimore City. And I Uber sometimes, let you in on that. And I'm always picking up whites that's going down to Fort McHenry on the other side of Key Highway. They have an Under Armour facility there. Go down to Hanover Street. They've opened up a winery called Sagamore. I was over in Georgetown, outside of D.C. They got Sagamore Development operating in Georgetown. So Kevin Plank, his company is one of the Fortune 500 companies that's in Baltimore. The other one is Exelon. So all we're saying is to Jack Young, all he got to say to Kevin Plank, if you want to, I was at the table where I was driving and saw Carl Stokes, Robert Stokes, Jack Young going into a church over on East Baltimore on Monument Street called Fountain Baptist. That's the same church where they're talking about getting rid of the bike lanes. And as I've been talking about, those bike lanes is money that was given to the city by Michael Bloomberg. And when Bloomberg gives them money through the Bloomberg's initiatives, then it comes with chains attached, strings attached, and of course bike lanes attached. Those are Bloomberg's initiatives that many of the Democratic mayors are implementing in their cities. So they didn't put this on a referendum to ask the citizens that we want these damnable bike lanes, which are public health problem, public safety problem, right? And it's for a few. It's not for the many. And so it creates danger as far as cars being able to get by, paramedics being able to get by, fire trucks being able to get by to get to a home to put out a fire or in order to provide assistance to somebody who needs assistance. But again, under former Mayor Pugh and under the former mayor before her, Stephanie Rawlins Blake, they cut these deals with Bloomberg. Bloomberg was in town, I think, last year. So Bloomberg was in town a couple of months ago down in Annapolis. So that means your governor's in the bed with Michael Bloomberg. Watch it now. When you hear about these mothers against violence, a lot of them are getting money from Michael Bloomberg. Ask Daphne, what's her name? Daphne Austin, Mothers of Murdered Sons. Ask them, are they getting money through the state's attorney's office? Then the money goes to their organizations from Michael Bloomberg. So when you hear about all these rallies going on, talking about they're against violence. No, they're against certain violence, but they want to use it to try to take away more of our rights in terms of your Second Amendment right and your right to bear arms is what they want to do. But that's Michael Bloomberg who got armed security. But he gonna tell you need to give up your weapons. Don't fall for that. Because if we'd have had guns, the great equalizer, you know how we end up in this country? We didn't have no guns. And we'd have had some damn guns. We still be in Africa right now. You know why they killed John Brown? Because John Brown, body that's molding in the grave, song they sung, John Brown took his 2 sons and tried to get all them munitions, the arms munitions at Harper's Ferry. That's why they killed John Brown. Okay? Because he was going to arm the slaves and have a real armed slave rebellion. So anytime you bring me any whites that claim they want to be your friends, I want to know where they are to the left of John Brown. If you ain't radical like John Brown, we ain't got time for you. Just bottom line. Don't have no time for you. Okay? Now, if Bloomberg has been giving this money to these groups, now Kevin Plank is giving money to the mayor and the politicians is what I'm saying. So this meeting that was taking place at Fountain Baptist, I went in, some representatives of Under Armour were there. And they were talking about how they was going to build up Dunbar's football field. I'm an alumni of Dunbar. Came out in 84. I was there with the great 59-0 basketball team. Muggsy Bogues, Reggie Lewis, Reggie Williams, Mike Brown, Keith James. Keith James and I, we grew up together from Crispus Attucks playing Little League football. Then we played basketball. I grew up with all the James, Keith James, Booby James, Spoon, Kenny. All of us grew up together. We go way back like a Cadillac on four flats, as we say, or four flats on a Cadillac, one of them. That's how far back we go. Okay? So we went on to Dunbar. I was there at that time. The greatest high school basketball team ever assembled. You'll never, ever, ever see that again. Our high school basketball team go 59-0. So Under Armour was having this meeting at Fountain Baptist Church talking about how they're going to build Dunbar's football field. They're going to build a fence around the field so that people can't just walk on the field. And they did a hell of a job. If I had a picture of it, I would post it and let you see it. Put a state-of-the-art scoreboard up there. Then they said, we're going to give the football players, we're going to do their uniforms. But they said, not only are we going to do the football players' uniforms, they said we're going to do all of the school's athletic team's uniforms. Now, you would say that's an honorable thing to do. Now, be clear. Nobody does something for nothing now. So the mere fact, then they said that the football field was going to have lights. Lights come on at a certain time, go off at a certain time, so they don't disturb the neighbors. I don't know which neighbors they're going to disturb, because our people are happy to see some damn lights. Right? The marching band's been over there marching in the dark all the damn time. Right? The straight ones and the gay ones. Y'all know what I'm talking about. All right? Your granny and the trannies was out there in the dark. Okay? Y'all know what I'm talking about. But nevertheless, man, they put lights on the field. Okay? So Under Armour clearly wanted something in return. And so now here's an opportunity for Jack to say to Under Armour, hire these young people, man. But hire them $10 an hour, $11 an hour. But take that other dollar and let these young people own a piece of Under Armour. I mean, that's what you want, man. And then this Jack Young signed something when he was in city council and say that you got to hire 51% of the city employees for these projects, man. So it would only make sense if he had the testicular fortitude, right, to say to Kevin Plank, this is what we're asking you to do. And put it on paper, baby. Have a memorandum of understanding that this is what they're going to do. Now, that's the best boxing match that we can give our young people. That they're going to be boxing them under. Now, Kevin Plank, if he really loved Baltimore, rather than be making all his, New Balance make some of their shoes overseas, some of their shoes are made over here. That's the last sneaker company to make shoes in America. So if Jack Young wanted to appeal to Kevin Plank, then you say to Kevin Plank, man, can't y'all set up a manufacturing plant and y'all can make some of these sneaks over here? Why you got to go to China? Why you got to go to Vietnam, man? That's the big thing. Go to Vietnam and make sneakers in Vietnam or whatever they want to make. Couldn't they make part of that here? That's all I'm saying. I went to the Under Armour store downtown. The only one they got is in Harbor East. And I bumped into Rodney Elliott, who went to Dunbar, who's now a manager there. He went to the University of Maryland, played on the University of Maryland National Championship with Juan Dixon. And so I used to go back, kind of teach them, share information with them. And so those brothers and I, we got mutual respect. Rodney Elliott, Keith Booth, who's now has been announced as the next coach at Dunbar High School, basketball coach. Keith Booth, who played, right? Went on, played for Chicago Bulls, played with Michael Jordan when they won those championships. I think he was there for one or two of the championships, nevertheless. So I say all that to say that if Jack Young was serious about helping black youth, he would look at the port and take back the port of Baltimore. Why should we give somebody else our port, man? That's all I'm saying. We should take back that port and create jobs for our young people. But in the meantime, while you negotiating taking back the port, meet with the unions down there and say, y'all got to hire some of these young people coming out of high school, man, that can read and can write. And don't take much reading and write to drive a car off the ships when they come in down there, man. It don't take much reading to write. The young brothers in the street know how to do that. They strip your car in a minute. So they ain't got no problem knowing how to put a car in reverse and put a car in drive. Those are little things that they doing, man. So I just wanted to say that because, again, as I said before, Jack Young suggests boxing bouts to settle street beefs, man. Shows how, again, idiotic he is as a person and how juvenile he's thinking, because violence beget violence. And so you can't tell the young people this is how you're going to settle beefs, but it's going to take those who, as the scripture says, blessed are the peacemakers, to help brothers sit down and settle up their beefs, man. This is where you get them same groups that's been running around here getting all this grant money, this grant chase task force, and let them sit down. Not the Baltimore Community Mediation. They got a big event coming up they've been advertising, man. They tell you come on up to 3333 Green Mound Avenue. That's a big thing. They the ones that the what's her name, Erica Bridgeforth, and little Erica with the one arm. She's so cute, right? With the 1.5 arm. And they use her as like Sally Struthers used to use little Mobutu. You know how Sally Struthers used to come on TV? Is this little Mobutu? And if you just give 19 cents a day, little Mobutu can eat. Now, we ain't saying little Mobutu. Sally Struthers, when she first started, you remember Sally Struthers? She used to be on, what was it, All in the Family? She was about this damn small. Yeah, anybody seen Sally Struthers late? She about this damn big now. It take 3 cameras to take her picture, man. So we don't know what happened to little Mobutu. But we do know what happened to Sally Struthers. She got paid off of them commercials, man. So that's how these fake white liberals be using little Erica Bridgeforth. Y'all empathetic and sympathetic. Or you see her and she got one arm, you know what I mean? Or one in the nub. And they use her for a fundraiser, man. That's all they do. They use her to raise funds, right, for the fake white liberal nonprofits behind the scenes, man. That's all they doing with it for the most part. They come out, somebody gets shot, they tell them like they do with Safe Street. Y'all go out, serve the children of the person that got shot some pizza, give them some hot dogs, give them some soda. That don't ease the pain, man. That don't ease the pain that my loved one is no longer here. But that's just part of the game that they do with it, to keep you pacified. When you really got to have a real crime plan, which I'm going to talk about over the next couple of weeks because, as I said last week, they never planned to fail. They just failed to plan. And if the commissioner that's here, Harrison, that came from New Orleans, if he had a crime plan, he would have presented the crime plan when he first got here. Here we are now in June, getting ready to go into the new fiscal year, July 1st, and they don't have a crime plan. He said, give me some time, I can give you a crime plan. This is what Kathy Pugh was doing, running around having these VRIs, Violence Reduction Initiatives, man. And that's what you got to go back and look at with that whole thing about the harbor and the children. It's just another violence reduction initiative that they want to run using our children. Because we saw that White Marsh where they said they want to put a ban on youth out White Marsh, which really they mean black youth, okay? Then we saw that East Point Mall, which they said the youth was acting rowdy out there, right? So they shut that down and started talking about imposing a curfew. Now, of course, it started at Towson, and Towson imposed the curfew at the mall. So now I'm clear that they will try to use those youth that they may have controlled that came downtown to begin to, again, lock down on black youth and say, y'all can't come downtown after 9 o'clock, right? Or they might say 6 o'clock. Watch it when the sun goes down, unless you're accompanied by a parent. So you got to watch that, man. In the meantime, all opportunities and venues for black youth that used to exist uptown have been cut off and shut off. Recreation centers, which you got to turn into, as I said, sports academies and employment, things that our black youth need, and then they just criminalize black youth behavior. I'm glad they ain't criminalized black youth graduating this week, man. You know what I mean? Tell police, you go round them up. They ain't supposed to be graduating. They supposed to be going to jail or going to the cemetery. So we're going to open up the lines, man. Take some calls, as I promised, at 8:30. You can get in on the conversation, 404-436-1277 to get in on Radio on Fire, State of the City, Radio on Fire, man. And if your radio ain't on fire, it ain't on. But if you can get in on the conversation, 404-436-1277. Get in where you fit in where you get in. We got a caller. We'll go to the call. If you got a comment you want to post it on Facebook, please do so. And it's not a question that we won't take. So with that, we'll go to the line.
Hello?
Yes. Good evening, caller. How are you? You're on the State of the City.
I'm great. How are you? I'm calling to give a shout out to my daughter Amber Crump.
Amber?
She graduated with Amber Crump.
Crump?
Yes.
Crump?
Yes.
Amber Crump. All right. Congratulations and shout out to Amber Crump. Now, where did she graduate from?
She graduated from Hillsdale College, located in Michigan.
All right.
She graduated with honors and magna cum laude with a degree in economics and finances.
All right. Congratulations. Thank you, sister, for calling in and sharing the good news, okay? And make the media in your town, thank you, make the media in your town cover our youth that are doing the right thing, all right?
Definitely.
All right. Thank you again, sister, for calling in. Anything else? All right. That was the call. So if you got a call, just say Amber Crump. Graduated, of course, Hillsdale College in Michigan. So the scripture says, can any good come out of Nazareth? Of course, the scripture's asking, can any good come out of your city where black youth are? You tell them a whole lot of goods coming out of your city, coming out of your state, coming out of your town. We got to be the ones to celebrate and elevate and make sure that we put it out in the universe and don't wait for others to do so. But we have a duty and responsibility to do that. So with that, because somebody did it for us. So we standing on the shoulders of those who did it for us, and we got to do it for the ones coming behind us. With that, if you got a thought, question, comment, 404-436-1277. For those that want to get in where you fit in and fit in where you get in before we come to an end at 9 o'clock, but we may go a few minutes over, of course, just due to the time and coming in earlier. So we got any calls on or comments on Facebook, my brother?
Yes, we do.
Let's get them comments, man. I got a one-man engineer that steer and clear up in here. So I got to thank my brother. And I encourage you to support Radio on Fire. And through your time, through your talent, through your treasure, sending in your donations, not your don't nations. Them the ones we get. When some of y'all be telling me, Brother Muhammad, I'm going to send you a donation. I'm like, yeah, I got that. I need donations to keep the show and the flow and the info coming. So his Cash App is Radio on Fire. Is that correct, my brother?
Correct.
All right. My Cash App is $SOTC Muhammad. MUHAMMAD. That's the Cash App. I am on PayPal at Darren Muhammad, so please give so that we continue to come longer and stronger. And eventually we may have, as I said before, look at picking up another day. I would love to do some drive time radio in the morning or in the evening where I think we can really have an impact on what is taking place in the city and the state and in this country. I mean, some real relevant radio is what we got to have. In order to educate our people and then have a critical mass to begin to really organize like never before on a city level, on a regional level, on a state level, on a regional level is what we're going to have to do between DMV, the District, Maryland, Virginia, but nationally because there's a vacuum in terms of for this kind of information and real black radio right now. But in that vacuum, we can step up and we can fill that vacuum if we seize the time and seize the moment, as our brothers and comrades in the struggle have always talked about in the Black Panther Party. Gotta seize the time. And of course, as the Most Elijah Muhammad always taught, the time is ripe, but the laborers are few. So the time is ripe. We just need those that's willing to step up. So don't wait for anyone else. You may be the one. You are the one. We are the one. That's why we're here in this dispensation in time, brought into existence to do what we have to do in this time. With that, we come back to the line. Good afternoon or good evening, caller. You are on the State of the City on Radio Fire. Question, comment?
Hey, how you doing, Soldier? How you doing, brother?
I'm good,
James
brother. Soldier James. Is that you, my brother?
That's me, my brother.
You got through tonight, brother. You said you couldn't get through Saturday, but you got through tonight. Come on with it, my brother.
I got through tonight. Yeah, man, I listened to that Dumbo man the other day when he talked about we need to solve our problem putting on some boxing gloves, brother. You know something is wrong with that guy, man. See, like you said, something he just came out of Jack of a box or something, man.
Yeah, he may be Jack in the box for sure, brother. But as I say,
something wrong with that guy, man.
He's not the sharpest knife in the drawer, brother. That lights are on, but nobody's home. But he clearly needs a checkup from the neck up, or he took too many hits to his head and suffering some CTEs or them concussions as they call them, right?
You know, there's a million things he could have said about what he want to do in Baltimore. But one of the first things he could have said that, like Mayor Barry said, that every kid this summer who wants to work, they will work.
Get a job. Everybody that wants to work can work. Now, can you imagine?
Why do you say something like that?
Can you imagine if a white politician had said that, man? Everybody be calling for his head. But but Jack Younger said, and nobody calls for his head, right?
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, he wouldn't have said that to. He wouldn't have said that to some white youth. He wouldn't say that to the police officers that be fighting each other. Y'all want to settle your beef, get down in the ring. What are you going to ask for next? A super soaker fight? You know what I mean? What's next? Right. A water gun fight? Now, he could do that for
all you listeners who listen to this brother across the country, man, y'all are in for a treat. He's just not going to talk to you about Baltimore. He's going to bring it to you from across the world.
We have to, my brother. We have to.
This brother knows what he's talking about.
Thank you.
You know?
Yes,
so
sir.
Tell all your friends to tune in to this brother, man.
Yes, sir.
And signal support.
Yes, sir.
But this brother, he knows what he's talking about.
Yes, sir.
He's a protege of Baba Dick Gregory. You know?
That's right. Long live that spirit, brother. And
you know,
that movie, I think,
this
buddy,
is really deep. And I mean, he is doing it here in Baltimore.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you ought to see the things they try to do to this brother to stop him from talking. And all he's doing is telling the truth.
That's right. Amen. I like it.
Telling the truth.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, brother.
So I'm just challenging everybody across the country who listen to this brother. You know, turn his station on. Tell your friends about him.
Yes, sir.
And start tuning in and sending your support. We need more commentators in our black community who are going to tell the truth.
Shay.
Tell the truth about what's going on in your communities across this country and this world.
That's right, brother.
And this, brother, is the truth.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother. You got any
Okay,
graduates?
Have a nice evening. I'll talk to you later.
Any graduates 2019, my brother, you want to lift up right now?
Brother, I don't have any right now in my family that I know about closely, but I want to say to all the graduates, it's a great milestone to graduate no matter what level it is.
That's right. And then, now think about for a second, you had the superintendent of schools out there last week or this past week, I think. She was calling off the names of young people that's been killed in the city, some that won't graduate. But the hypocrisy is all the schools that she's closing next week, right? When school's out, she's already committed some drive-bys herself by closing these schools because many of these young people are not going to go to no other school once you close their middle school and once you close their high schools. That you basically are sentencing them to death because you pushing them out in the street. Is that right, my brother?
Oh, my brother, she's the biggest joke in the world. Here in Baltimore, we got a school that's enrolling black boys.
Yep, Banneker Blake, and she voted to close the school because she didn't like the fact
that unbelievable.
The fact is because Carl Stokes, one of the founders of the schools, is friends with Governor Hogan, a Republican. She voted to close the school down with all the black boys in there. Now, if they was in there teaching them black boys how to be black girls, if they were teaching them to be gender benders, right?
Everything would be all right.
Oh, everything would be all right. They say that this school will be a model for the rest of the nation, right?
Absolutely.
But they teaching black boys how to go up and become straight black boys and straight black men. They say we can't have that in 2019,
we can't have this.
Right? So this is
the hypocrisy we got going on in Baltimore, people.
That's right.
And really all across the country.
All across the country is what's going on, bro.
Country.
So it's an all-out assault on straight black boys and straight black men and women right now. On a straight black family, brother. You know?
Absolutely.
So we got to draw a line in the sand and call out those who are doing it and expose the ones that's doing it and fight those who are doing it as well, my brother. But as I said to Carl Stokes, if Jack Young is your friend and he was your friend while you was on the council, you shouldn't have to lift another finger to keep that school open. Jack Young should make a phone call to the superintendent, Santalizi, and anybody else, the governor, and say, I'm betting my political career on keeping the school open for these black boys, right?
That's why we know that Negro ain't in charge of nothing.
Yeah, if he don't, I might challenge him to a boxing match. Tell his dad put some gloves on. You know what I mean?
And I'll second you.
Yes, sir. All right, my brother. Anything else?
Pick it up.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, brother.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you.
All right, brother. Love you. With that, if you got another thought, question, comment, you want to get in on the lines, 404-436-1277. Yeah, man, they trying to close down. They voted to close Dr. Martin Luther King School. Now you're going to be a black woman and you overboard. The superintendent, y'all going to close a school named after Dr. King. I mean, that's like the mayor, it's been 30 days. Ain't nobody seen her. Kathy Pugh, Kathy Through, Healthy Holly, Healthy Herbie, or whatever the hell she was.
She's recovering.
Yes. You see if you can find that Shotlight song, Have You Seen Her? You know what I mean? I do want to play that track and dedicate it to her. You know what I mean? Have you seen her? Now, if you seen her, y'all please let me know, have you seen her? Tell me, have you seen her? But one of the first acts that she tried to do was to get rid of the Dr. King parade when she got here and became the mayor. Now, how insensitive could you be? She wouldn't get rid of gay pride, that parade they had. She wouldn't get rid of the Irish Festival parade. But the first act she wanted to do was to get rid of the King. See, they'll do that to test your pulse, black people, and see how you respond. And now, of course, as you notice, I'll talk about next week, how they're attacking King's legacy. And they got this new book out this white guy wrote, talking about King and how King was part of some orgies and how King watched a woman be raped. See, that's all tied to that Me Too. That's all part of that Me Too, He Too movement where they gotta debase our leaders. right? Former leaders and present leaders. That's what they got to do right now. So that you no longer look at them. And then they'll have some Negroes. I'm warning you. They'll have some Negroes introduce a bill to take away King's Day is what they'll do. You understand? Because they can't use King and say King was part of the LGBT. See, they can't use that. They tried it with Malcolm and it didn't work. We pushed back on that when they tried it with Malcolm. So watch them now because they'll do that with King. But that's another discussion on another day that I'm going to talk about. But if we got any more callers, 404-436-1277, you can get in on the conversation. Good evening, caller. You're on the State of the City at Radio on Fire.
Peace and blessing, my brother Darren. How you be?
Oh, my brother West, the best brother West, calling them down there from Florida, the Sunshine State, right?
You know, so I'm right in Atlanta, man. But
you in Atlanta? That's all right. You're close enough. What's happening in the ATL, man? Come on up in here, my brother.
Well, man, you know how it goes. You got this so stupid governor, man, with this abortion thing, and all of a sudden the movie industry, which is wicked anyway, talking about they not going to be coming now in Atlanta film no movies no more. And then you got that sister, that member of the Council of Foreign Relations, done left and went to Hallowed Wood, talking about please bring the movies back in Georgia. But since you talk about Florida, man, what you think about that sheriff Scott Peterson got arrested? He in the same jail with Nicholas Cruz, man. They're in the same jail.
Yes, sir. Well, all that is interesting and still hasn't been explained. So I'll have to eventually look into that. But all of that in terms of what happened at what was that school called? Margaret Douglas Stoneman or whatever.
Yeah, Margaret Stoneman Douglas.
Yeah. A lot of what happened down there haven't really been explained. I think I'm gonna have to take almost a segment to slow walk that and explain everything that went down there in terms of what we was told took place down there, and of course how the Zionists, of course, used all of that to try to go after our guns and the crisis actors and everybody they had down there in Florida, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, but the main thing I want to ask you about, what do you think about this thing happening in Virginia last week, man? I don't believe that brother did that. I think that was another psyops, man.
Yeah, clearly looks like a psyops. I ain't seen no dead bodies. I done seen them talking about them, but I haven't seen them, right? You seen any dead bodies?
They don't like to show
no
dead.
They
don't like to show the dead. And the number one,
after the Vietnam War, they stopped wanting to show dead people on TV because people.
You see how long they had the body that was supposed to be Michael Brown laying in the street?
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
They don't like to show bodies. Okay. Sure, right. So I just say we're in a time of universal deceit, so we got to question everything, as you know that, my brother. And that's very important, Brother West. Anything else, my brother?
Oh, I just want to magnify what my brother before said about you, man.
Thank you.
Hey, bro, you talking all these Negroes going, this is what they need to be listening to instead of this damn Wednesday night Bible study. This is what they need to be listening to.
Yes,
the
sir.
Real man.
Yeah, this is the hostile gospel right here, my brother. This ain't gonna make you docile right here, brother. This that kind of truth gonna make you stand up, not man up, and definitely not can up, but man up for sure, my brother, rather. All right?
Yes, sir, man. You see how outside the Most High keep bumping you up, man, more and more?
Well, we're not going to stop. We're not going to stop, my brother. And so we're going to eventually do a documentary on Baba Dick. So it's going to make a lot of people mad.
Sir, man.
Well, we're going to have to do a documentary on that one, all right?
Yes, sir, man. You know that, hey, I got the same Earth Day as his, man, so I'm thrown in there, man.
October 12th.
That's my day, man.
Yes, sir.
I can't help but get in the mix, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, sir.
You know what he told us? We got the magic glasses on, man. I can't take them off, man.
No, can never, ever take them off, my brother. So thank you, Brother West. Love you, my brother.
Yes, sir. Peace and blessing, man. Stay strong. Keep it rolling.
Right back at you, my brother. Of course, I thank you. That brother calling from the ATL. I think he was talking about the governor of Georgia. I think they passed, now the abortion bill says what now?
Well, I think
is it 8
Stacey
weeks?
Abrams wanting them to not do.
Yeah, well, she's tied to council. She's part of the Council on Foreign Relations. Stacey Abrams, right?
Yeah.
Now. Stacey Abrams is tied to a group called Emily List. Emily's List really is like Margaret Singer's List. Any black women and women that want to run for office, they get the money from Emily's List. Right. Emily's List is tied to Planned Parenthood. Now, I got serious problems with Planned Parenthood when you know the history of Planned Parenthood and Margaret Singer, right? With the Negro Project, in which they recruited black preachers. See, because you're talking about population control. Now, if a woman's been raped, this has happened to a woman, I understand that part. But the number one killer of black males, it's not the police. It's abortions. But yet, Black Lives Matter is never demonstrating in front of one abortion clinic. I see Mennonites. I see some Amish. I see them demonstrating in front of abortion clinics. But you don't never see Black Lives Matter demonstrating in front of abortion clinics, which is the number one killer of black male babies, period. More so than the police officers. Most people are not against abortions. But you got to study that most black men are against abortion because everybody wants to see themselves go into the future. Now, I agree if you're going to use birth control, whatever you're going to use, abortion is not a form of birth control. But this is the way that the enemy sells it as a form of birth control. So I'm pro-choice. You got to choose wisely what man or woman you're going to lay down with. So we have to stop playing with sex, as Dr. Frances Cress Welsing says in her book, The ISIS Paper. And she always said publicly that we're going to have to put some revolutionary actions into our sexual behavior. You know what I mean? It's what we're going to have to do. And that demands we're going to have to be disciplined. And the old saying goes, where there's no discipline, there's no love. And so we're going to have to grow in terms of the adults because the children only imitate what they see adults do. So, but that's what we have to do and not say, well, because governors and states have passed these bills that, I mean, they're trying to protect their white race. I don't have no problem with them trying to protect their race. I'm looking for our people trying to protect our race so that we can go into the future. You know, that's the bottom line. But again, when you say Black Lives Matters, we can't be selective in what Black Lives Matters we say matter, only if it's a black life taken by the police. I say Black Lives Matter from gestation to the ultimate manifestation, right? From the womb to the tomb.
But I think the question is when does the life start? Like when are we quantifying the beginning of life? Or is that minutes after you ejaculate? Is that a month? Like when? Right. When is if the child can't survive outside the womb? Absolutely. Is that life active?
Well, again, you heard me jokingly you heard me say over there. Since young brothers and sisters aren't getting married, I'll go back to what you used to say back in the day. If you go to the prom with the person you go to prom with, the person you're gonna marry. So we got to begin to have some real courtships and again. Encourage, as I said before, courtships among our young boys and our young girls, right? And marriages right now. So I think that's because that's the bigger picture that we got to get into. Not when you get kind of struggling on a low I don't want to say on a lower level, but you start getting into that conversation. So I think if we start pushing courtships, right?
Yeah, well, if you go deeper,
then this is what we got to do. True. You know what I mean? Because I had 5 children. None of them were playing. I was just trying to get me something. Like Baba Dick Gregory used to always say. I was just trying to get some booty. He had 10 gods. You know what I mean? I had 10 gods. But that's how it works. But we still got to push, again, in terms of relationships, courting and encouraging marriages in our relationships. You know, that's the bottom line because marriage is a divine institution. And that's what we got to do for our children to see. And they will act out what they see. And that's what we got to do. And I think that's what's very important. But again, if you're talking about saving a mother's life, things like that, then I understand. But what we see right now where people is just using abortion, right, as a form of birth control and not really respecting their own bodies and respecting what God has given us as a people in terms of, again, to procreate and recreate, you know. So that's what we have to do. And I think we're going to eventually have to have that conversation. We can't have it on a small scale like others are having it. You know, but I think that's what we got to do, you know. So, and that's very important. And we got to, see, because look at what everybody else is doing. Chinese understand that. They 1,600,000,000. The Indians understand that, right? The reason why Africa's not fully developed other than racism and white supremacy, Africa don't have enough people on the continent. They don't have enough people on the continent.
We also got to have a conversation about once the child is born, right? Taking care of the child.
Sure, yeah, that's when you have real family planning.
They feel like taking care of the child can be shaky.
It shouldn't be by themselves. You know, it's again, it takes a village to raise the child. Fact. And that's what we have to get back to in terms of the village to help that young mother so that they're not by herself or the young man's not by themselves. You know what I mean? So we have to get back teaching parenting classes. Those are things that can be taking place in the school system. And schools that did that, of course, in this city, they moved and shut that school down. I remember having a conversation with Dr. Loretta Stiff. You know, she had the school over there, Paquin School for Girls for years, right?
Yeah.
And she told me how Andre Alonzo, the big jabroni, the brokeback, the big pedophile, you know what I mean? Every time you see him, he was running around with young boys. I'm telling you what I know. And school police officers knew it, but because Andre Alonzo was a protected person politically, the politicians didn't want to touch Andre Alonzo. Him and I had a big confrontation at the school. I was going in with Sister Letitia Fitz, who I was working with at the time. They had voted that night, the previous night, to close 5 schools. I'm going in the building with her. He's coming out the building, not with his regular driver, Ralph, who had been there for years. He was Walter Ampre's driver. I'm going in, Alonzo's coming out. So, you know, it's kind of like that scene in Sanford and Son with Smitty and Hoppy. The black guy, his driver shakes my hand. Alonzo tried to shake my hand. I said, don't touch me. I said, you just voted last night to close 5 black schools. Why would I want to shake your hand, right? And walked on in the building. He's walking out the building. Letitia goes to sign in. If you ever go in the back, you got to sign in, right? So I'm standing behind her. She goes to sign in. The little officer waves her in. Just as I'm getting ready to walk in, I look up. Who's standing hindering my path? Andre Alonzo. You know what he said? You doubting Muhammad? I said, you damn right, right? He said, I don't like that shit you say about me on your radio show. I said, well, Alonzo, if you don't like what I said. Now, we in the building with people standing around, right? Norman Coleman's with him. This is his security. I said, if you don't like what I'm saying, then stop doing what you're doing, right? I said, but if you got a problem with what I'm saying, I said, why don't you and your boyfriend come on a radio show and let's talk about it? I said, but the officers tell me how you keep beating them up, and they got to come take you out of the department because you beating up your boyfriend. You know what I mean? She looks at the officer, who I later found out was Officer Tillery. She still worked there, a little black officer. He told her not to let me in the building, right? So he said, you're going to burn in hell for what you say. I said, if you don't like what I'm saying, again, won't you and your boyfriend come on the show and let's talk about it, right? So, but I said to him, not you or no army going to stop me from going in this building. So Coleman's pulling him saying, come on, Alonzo, we got to go. So this all on videotape. Now, he didn't touch me because then I told him I would kick your ass from here all the way back over to, at that time, he was living in Federal Hill. But he was fighting and getting drunk every weekend that the community association president, who I had spoken to, said they told Alonzo he got to move out of Federal Hill. They moved him into Butchers Hill. Now, I knew all this. The mayors knew this. The school police knew it. Toby Goodwin was the school police. They was covering up all of Alonzo's crimes, man. That's what they were doing. You understand? So this was the fight. So people saw me talking about it, but they didn't understand why we was talking about it. And it was all because he was closing the schools. And that's what it was all about. So many people came around later and said you was right. Some of the police officers, Clyde Boatwright, Donovan Brooks. I mean, I'm going to call the road. Brother Spence, they saw it. They said you should have went downtown and you should have went downtown and had him charged with first-degree assault because he was hindering my space. So all I did was went out the back door and came in through the front door and handled my business. You know what I mean? But he left. And then I was later told that Ralph, who was his regular driver, told Coleman that he should have grabbed me and locked me up. That way, when they came back, they would say I had an axe to grind with Alonzo and said that, you know, that Alonzo attacked me or Alonzo, you know, did something wrong. So the object was to get rid of Brother Muhammad. See, those are the kind of things like my brother said, you have no idea what they try to do to me. You know what I mean? In terms of just standing up for our children when we was calling Alonzo out. And that's all you got to do. Resist the devil and they'll flee from you. One thing, we represent light, they represent the darkness. And they don't ever want you to turn the lights on them. That's the problem. And then that's the problem right there. When you making trouble for them. That I'll turn the light on them and don't have no problem. I'll say on the microphone what other people say in their homes. That's the problem they got with me. You know what I mean? They say, Brother Muhammad, I didn't tell you that. Well, don't tell me if you don't want me to tell it then. Don't say it if you don't want me to say it. You know? Because I'm a man. You ain't going to punk me. That's the bottom line. And that's what happened in this city. Too many brothers and sisters let themselves get punked by those in positions of power that really don't have power. So that's it. So got a couple more minutes if you want to get in. 404-436-1277. If you got a comment on Facebook, please post that comment and my brother read your comment before we begin to wrap up in the next couple of minutes. You got any comments up there, my brother?
Oh, yeah. They said when they can't buy you or control you, they would try to assassinate your character.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't talk about that, but I mean, they'll come through. And this is in the book who I interviewed, John Pardash, the white guy who wrote the book, The FBI War on Tupac Shakur. and that's part of the counterintelligence program, COINTELPRO. They talk about how the kind of tactics and strategies they would use. You know, come after your character, come after your family, come after your ex, try to come after your next. So I've had to go through all of that. And I always tell other brothers and sisters, if you're going to get on this path, then know you're going to have to go through that as well. The question is whether you can take it or not.
Right.
If you can't take it, right, then you're going to fold. And it'll turn brothers on to drugs, turn brothers into alcoholics, or turn them into something else if they're not sincere and are not humble enough to be able to go through that and still keep reaching and serving our people. Because I would have, folded and gone a long time ago. In this city right here, this is a hard city right here. But I always say, whatever don't break you is only going to help to make you. But this is a hard city, Baltimore City right here. This city was so hard, they said that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was ready to give up his mission, right? In this city. That's how hard it is, but still here, still clear, still sincere. So thank you. Next comment.
Jack Young is stuck on stupid.
He definitely stuck on stupid. That I agree with. But he is Gazoo. He is Gazoo for sure. Next comment.
Congratulations to the young man. Angels of protection, please be around him at all times.
Yeah, we got to watch him because too many of our young brothers, when they getting ready to go off to college, then they end up being found shot dead somewhere. And as I said to the brother off air, you got to watch it because the police and our enemies will always go back to anniversaries and come back after these young men, self-included, or go after their family members. So you got to watch them, got to protect them, and ask the angels, of course, to surround them young brothers because they will do that and have done that. Tell you what I know. Next comment.
Brother Muhammad, great show. Thank you for the information. Keep up the good work.
Quite welcome. Thank you. Support the show, as I said before, because that's the only way to work and continue in terms of this labor of love. And that's what it is, clearly, a labor of love.
Another comment said, it's nice to see and hear from that young man. Much success to him and his family.
Yeah, young brother Gerard. And his mom and dad went through their differences, but they still co-parent, and they're there for one another as well. And so I think that's important too, when mothers and fathers are no longer together, but you got to be able to eventually get to the point where you can communicate for the child, for the maximum development of our children, and that's what's very important. And so sometimes we let go when our children go off to college, but then that's another phase of their life that they need you even more when they go off to college because he's still growing and he's still learning as well. Next comment.
Great Wednesday program. Negro Talk Radio just trying to get us to go along with the Democratic Party freak show.
Yeah, that's what most of them are. Try to get our people to go along with the Democratic Party freak show. So me, not here. You know what I mean? Me?
I didn't think so.
Not here. So I won't go along with the Democratic Party freak show. So if I did, of course, I'd be telling you go along with the Democratic Party freak show. So not here. Next comment.
You are right. All by design. The plan to destroy the most emulated and influential, most hated human being on this planet, the black man.
Absolutely. Yeah, as Dr. Frances Cress Welsing says, it's the black man that initiates it all. So she talked about putting that black crystal, of course, on top. And, of course, that's our role. That's our duty. That's our responsibility. And we have to do that. But we have to do it with our sisters. So there's no me without you. So we got to be there side by side. And the most beautiful statue I've ever seen was the statue that the president of Senegal had built, even though I think a Korean designed it and finished it. But it was of the black man, the black woman, and the black child, representing the African Renaissance. And they're pointing to the West, which we are in the West, because I think they know that out of the West is going to come those that will really help Africa and lift Africa. But we got to go back with the right African mindset and spirit in order to serve our people and to help our brothers and sisters there. So next comment.
I did not want to believe it at first. I used to support the movement. Now I'm sure they're trying to queer out the black community.
Absolutely. And I'll try to see if I can find that clip next week with Melina Abdullah. And in that's clearly what she says. And that's all part of the agenda right now. And many of our leaders and organizations have basically bowed down, or they're so confused that they don't even see how they've been used that way to be able to basically allow them to hijack, as they did in 2013, the civil rights, and say that now those civil rights are their civil rights. And they're trying to shut anybody down that speaks up and speaks out, or even just to try to have this kind of conversation we're having tonight. They call people jobs, employment, employers, etc., radio stations, sponsors. Republicans don't do that. That's what the white nationalists don't do that. So this is what's taking place right now. And it's only going to grow. So we'll have to eventually be able to have that conversation, because it's time that we have that conversation. But only a few is going to be willing to do it. Most aren't willing to do it, because they're coming out the closet is pushing our people in the closet. No, and that's for real, But those that can be pushed in the closet, in the words of Tupac Shakur, don't let them jack you up, back you up, pimp smack you up. So you got to stand up is what you're going to have to do. So we'll take next couple of comments, then we're going to begin to wrap up.
Can you speak about the man who lit himself on fire at the White House grounds? Was he from India or Pakistan? I don't know. I'm going to have to look into that to see who that actually was. In terms of the man that lit himself on fire. I haven't looked at it. I just saw it on the surface. But again, sometimes you got to go back, look at signs, symbols, numerology, the day it happened, the time it happened, and if there was any other significant dates or events that occurred on that day as well. Because again, before they had the so-called Arab Spring and uprisings, it was a gentleman from Tunisia who had lit himself on fire. So sometimes those are coded messages for something else that's going to come out the woodwork, or something else that those that may be behind it is going to spring on the sheeple without them really knowing and not really looking at it. He died as well.
Yeah, he died as well. Okay. So, but I'll have to look into that and be able to, I think, in the future shows, share that information with you. Next question.
Why exactly do you not like the boxing idea?
Well, again, I do like boxing idea. Let's box to manufacture some shoes, some sneaks, some clothes, right? The things that our people need. That's the best boxing right there that our young people can be doing, man. Manufacturing, that's the best boxing. And allow them to own, right? Part of Under Armour. Allow them to own it. That's all I'm saying. But to say that settling a beef in the ring is going to, look, man, Israel and Palestine. Right now, Trump's son-in-law is over there, right? Nobody telling the Israelis and the Palestinians get in a boxing ring and solve your problems, right? They talking about come to the table. Let's look at our week and say how there's going to be a two-state solution, man. Nobody's saying to the Indians and India and the Pakistanis, let's get in the ring and have a boxing match. Only when it come to our people, they talking about something foolish like that. Get in the ring and have a boxing match. You got to sit down and get to the root of the problem of what happened between the brothers. Then you could talk about how you can sit down, settle up some differences there to give justice to those who have been injured, maimed, killed, right? That's what you got to do. The scripture said, blessed are the peacemakers, not blessed are the boxers, right? So that's what we need. Not to be talking about having some brothers getting in the ring. What, you going to have some mothers in there boxing next, man? What, you going to have sisters in there boxing next? It's foolishness. You got to get to the root of why there's a beef between the brothers, man. It's what you got to do. That's how you settle it. You ain't know in this ring we got the Bloods, this one we got the Crips. It's foolishness. And at the root of all times of what's going on, brothers, you got to make these brothers whole so they can have employment. That's at the root of it right there. You got to make sisters whole so they can get employment. That's the bottom line. They wouldn't go down there and tell the Hispanics because the whatever the Hispanic gang, you tell MS-13 and this group don't get along, y'all got to get in the boxing ring, man. Only when it comes to black youth, they're going to say some foolishness like that. That's it. Don't change when our turn comes. That's all I'm saying. When the Italians wasn't getting along, they didn't tell the Italians get in the boxing ring. When Greeks wasn't getting along, they didn't tell the Greeks get in the boxing ring. When Jews wasn't getting along, they didn't tell the Jews get in the boxing ring. They said, no, we're going to bring y'all up out of the illegitimate businesses to the legitimate businesses. This is what they did. That's how they got power. So that's what you do with them brothers. Show them how to clean up dirty money to make it clean money. Show them how to go from the illegit to legit. That's what you got to do. And that's what they waiting to see if that happens in the city. You taking people that's illegally in the country and you telling them you're going to give them amnesty. But all these brothers that's been victims of the gun trace task force, that's still locked up in jail, which I got to come back and do a whole show on the First Step Act. President Trump signed the legislation, but in Maryland, they haven't signed no legislation to deal with all them brothers that's still languishing in prison so that we can say, let's release them brothers and sisters in prison. They said that Kanye West and his wife, Kim Kardashian, got that one sister out of jail by Trump. How about nobody's asking Marilyn Mosley, where all them brothers languishing in prison from, again, the gun trace task force? Who's talking about vacating their sentences and letting them brothers out of jail, right? So we should be saying the same thing. Those that got released from Donald Trump's First Step Act, they got an article in the paper talking about a brother from Cleveland got released, man. Why aren't we saying to Governor Hogan, where's the state law to release those brothers and sisters based on the federal law of the First Step Act? That's the army we building up right there. You understand? Then you got to hire those brothers coming home from prison. That's another component to the First Step Act. But you can't find Congressman Elijah Cummings, Ben Cardin, any of our congressional representatives having no town hall meetings about the First Step Act. And now what's the next step after the First Step Act has gotten passed? They act like it didn't even get passed because they're not interested in helping black people. At least the poor in the middle, they ain't interested in helping us. But yet they helping Hispanics. They're helping the new Americans. They're helping all the undocumented illegals, right, to get employment and everything else. The Catholic Church brought them here and gave them their own cards, right? They tell us we got to go to MVA to get what? A national ID card. Okay, right. So all I'm saying is that we got to have real men and women that's willing to advocate for our people and lay all the information out there and then bring the information back to the people. If black media love you, they wouldn't spend all day talking about Donald Trump and dumbing you down with a bunch of foolishness. That's all I'm saying. They wouldn't spend all day talking about black youth and dumbing you down with a bunch of foolishness. Black wayward youth, as opposed to talking about black youth that's really doing the right thing that we should be elevating and celebrating. So we'll take one or two more comments, then we're going to wrap up.
It said, thank you for the hostile gospel.
Gotta have a hostile gospel. Jesus had a hostile gospel. John the Baptist had a hostile gospel. Moses had a hostile gospel. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had a hostile gospel for the Muslims are celebrating the end of Ramadan. So you better, and peace be upon, I think one of the great elders, they tell me, passed away, Louis Omar, who was a Muslim in this city. So I thank Sister Deanna and his family, of course, but we thank God for that brother and that elder whose shoulders we stand on, for him being a pioneer in the city of Baltimore, helping to establish and teach our people Islam. So with that, take one more and then that'll be it.
Said the youth don't need the box, they need jobs.
Absolutely. That's the best box you can get. Ban the boxes, they would say, right? Stop asking them, do you have a criminal record? They don't ask them Hispanics, do they have a criminal record? They in the country criminal illegally, and they don't even ask them that question. You get Marilyn Mosby and others saying to the employers, you can't ask them, are they in the country illegal? You see them talking about that? The census question when it comes to them, right? Why you worry about their census? You got all these brothers in prison. And when the brothers go to prison, you know where the money goes? To whatever prison in whatever city and whatever state that they send the brothers to, right? Shouldn't the money come back to this city and come back to this state where the brothers, right, where the brothers last reside? But nobody's, again, being a voice for the voiceless in this city, man. That's the sad part, that you see that from our representatives. So they don't even deserve to say they represent our citizens. We need a whole new representatives because they really don't want to represent our people in this city and in this state. So with that, that'll be the last question for tonight. You can still respond if you got a question on our Facebook page, Radio on Fire. What's the stream? If we're going to stream it, we're going to post it. What's it? Radio on Fire / State of the City. Okay, so you can go online, look at the show in its entirety. We'll be back here next Wednesday, of course, 7 p.m. And in the meantime, in between time, again, congratulations to all the graduates. 2019, still here, still clear, still sincere, and you're still on the scene. So thank you. God bless you. We love you. And don't forget to support Radio on Fire at Radio on Fire. That's their handle on the Cash App and State of the City, $SOTC Muhammad. I've been your host, Brother Muhammad. Till next Wednesday. God bless. Let's continue to clean up all this mess. Peace.